Creator's creator, or even his great-uncle. This vaguely quantitative and logical mindset no doubt predisposed me to choose the career I have. I'm a mathematician who is morphed into a writer, and to view the world in the way I do. It is what has animated me to write the books and columns I've written, some of which have touched on what I call irreligion, topics, arguments, and questions that spring from an incredulity not only about religion, but also about others' credulity. As this and the above anecdotes suggest, I've always found the various arguments for the existence of God that I've come across wanting. There is an inherent illogic to all of the arguments that I've never dealt with head-on. Here in Irreligion, I've attempted to do so. My approach in this book is informal and brisk. At least I hope it is. Not ceremonious and plodding. At least I hope it isn't. Interspersed among the arguments will be numerous asides on a variety of irreligious themes, ranging from the nature of miracles and creationist probability to cognitive illusions and prudential wagers. Beginning with a schematic outline of an argument, most chapters will briefly examine it and then present what I believe is a succinct deconstruction. The arguments considered range from what might be called the golden oldies of religious thought to those with a more contemporary beat. On the playlist are the first cause argument, the argument from design, the ontological argument, arguments from faith and biblical codes, the argument from the anthropic principle, the moral universality argument, and others. These arguments overlap to an extent, but I've loosely categorized them in an order that seems somewhat natural. Don't worry if your mathematical skills are rusty or even completely absent. Although I'm a mathematician, I've not included a single formula in the book. This doesn't mean that mathematics plays little role in what follows. The subject enters in two ways. First, I invoke bits of logic and probability throughout the book, always taking pains in my expositions of them to avoid not only formulas, but equations, complicated computations, and technical jargon. Second, and more significant, mathematics, or at least my mathematical sensibility, reveals itself in the analytic approach, my choice of examples, and the distaste for extraneous details apparent herein. Mathematicians are a bit like the laconic Vermonter who, when asked if he's lived in the state his whole life, replies, "Not yet." Fully discussing the arguments for God and their refutations, together with the volumes and volumes of commentary and meta-commentary that they continue to generate, brings to mind the predicament of Tristram Shandy. He was the fictional fellow who took 2 years to write the history of the first 2 days of his life. In an effort to avoid Shandy's fate and not lose the withered forest for the debunked trees, I've tried in this book, actually more of a handbook or a compendium, to sketch with a lightly heretical touch only the most trenchant refutations of the arguments for God. That is, just the gist, with an occasional jest. These refutations, some new and idiosyncratic, but many dating back centuries or even millennia, are not nearly as widely known as they once were, and therefore I believe there is value in having them all available in one place. For this reason, I've here adapted some sections from the other books and columns of mine that I mentioned above. This effort is especially important now, given this country's rampant scripture-spouting religiosity and the policies and debacles to which it has already led and to which it may further lead. A representative of the Enlightenment, which, unfortunately, sometimes seems to be in the process of being repealed, Voltaire presciently observed, "Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities." This dire forecast is all the more likely to come to pass when politicians and a substantial portion of a large political party are among the most effective purveyors of beliefs such as